Hey everyone, this is Sam from Wargamer Online, and today I'm just going to do another quick product overview. This is from Vallejo. They have been unbelievably kind, to be honest. This is just a small part of what they've sent us, sent to Wargamer Online, which is just incredible. Phil has got an entire airbrush range, as well as their newer metallic airbrush paints, and he's going to do a review on those. He's also going to use the metallic paints on a Caradron Overlord army, so he's going to be showing you how to use the Vallejo metallic paints and what they look like when they've been used. What I have kept from the bundle for me to use in my initial videos is this lot here, so I'm going to go through what there is. I'm going to tell you which bits I've used already. Some of this hasn't even been opened. So first of all, we will go through, let's go through the bigger tubs. So these are texture tubs. Now, I've never used these before. Initially I thought, I use sand, I use cork, I use slate. I don't normally use Games Workshop's texture paints just because it's quite expensive. It's good stuff, don't get me wrong. I just find that sand, cork and slate is a lot cheaper than buying the texture paints. Now these were sent, and these are about £11 per tub, but they are absolutely filled. Now I used one of these as a gap filler on Rachel's Seraphon army, and it wasn't that one. Do you know what? I think it was that one. I think the lid's just fastened down. There we go, it was that one. So you can see I've used quite a bit already, but this was filling bases for her Seraphon army, and they had huge gaps. So in between the foot of her Bastiladon or Stegodon, I can't remember which one it is, there was chunks of like that big, just missing like rocks and scenery. And I thought, I can use cork, but I'm going to see if this stuff works. And it does. I used clumps of it, just connected the top of the rock and the bottom of a base with this stuff, let it fully dry, and then dry brushed it and washed it as normal, and it works perfectly. And you can make textures with this as well, rather than just having to build up loads and loads of sand and paint together. You can clump this up to whichever sort of texture you desire. You can put waves into it as well if you want to, and you can make almost hills and slopes. And these say, on the outside I think it was, diorama effects. I haven't ever done a diorama before, but this is the stuff that I will be using for scenic bases, for adding texture and scenery. I've not looked at the rest of them on the inside. Ooh. There we go, so you can see when you get them, they aren't full to the top, but there's still a lot in there. For that £11, you're getting almost that much worth. And you can see how textured this is just from the clump that's on there. And when this fully dries, it's got some really nice texture to it. So I'm going to pop that back. Phil also has 3 of these tubs, so the Vallejo sent us 6 in total. This is the dark brown, well, the actual name for it is brown thick mud. This one's European thick mud, and then we've got light brown thick mud as well. Phil has the black, grey and white versions, so if you just wanted some generic colours that you wanted to paint over the top afterwards, you could just get a black or a white one. What do we have next? So these are really interesting, especially this one. Now, initially I was like, well, what are we going to use this for? What is this? What is the point? This is crushed grass, and it looks like a mix of flock. You can see there it's flock mixed with some sort of paste or some binder. Now I put this on Rachel's Stegodon again because they're herbivore dinosaur things, so I put this crushed grass around their mouth, around the teeth. I also put it on the back of the spines as if he's like been wading through grass and there's still some grass on there. And initially when I put this stuff on, it came out exactly as you see it here. And I was like, what's going on with this? It doesn't really work whatsoever. As soon as it dries, it transforms, and it transforms into this. Almost, it's not necessarily as dry as that as well. The stuff that I put on was like a wet. When you mow the lawn, and it's a bit wet, and you've basically got piles of clumps of grass on your lawn. It ends up looking like that, and it's an incredible texture, and it's a good weathering effect, something I've not seen before. So it was quite interesting to use that. Another one is this Slimy Grime, and I'm a massive fan of the 8K Interactive range with their weathering paint, but they're all enamels, so they can ruin your brushes if you don't use the right one. They're good because you can go back and you can change if you're doing like rust streaks or any sort of streaking. The enamels are perfect because you can go back and adjust them, but just for a quick effect, if you just want to add a little bit of a streak or something, I find it's a mission getting the white spirit out, getting the right brushes, making sure that I don't spill it everywhere because it will just destroy stuff. These are all acrylics, which is perfect. So if I just want to add a little bit of this Slimy Grime onto a model, I don't need to faff around. I can just, you know, shake this up and start using it straight away. I've not opened this, and a lot of this stuff that I'm going to be showing you today hasn't even been opened. This needs a good shake actually. Right, so this will be more of the colour. So you can see it's got that nice, I say nice, it's a horrible grimy green texture. If you were painting Death Guard or any sort of Nurgle thing and you wanted slime coming down it, or this would be used for moss as well. You could build up layers of this and use it as moss on some sort of surface. It's perfect for that. All of these products that have been sent are going to be used in tutorials. So this is an initial overview. This is showing you what products they've sent us. This is the stuff that I've got to get on with and have a look through. Phil has the airbrush range and he's extremely excited to get started on using those for tutorials as well. So this is just showing you some of the products. If you've never heard of them before, you've never seen them before like me, crushed grass, never even heard of that in a product, you might want to go and get it and test it out as well. But later on I'll be doing in-depth tutorials and using these products in all of those. Next one we've got is a snow environmental effect. Now this, I'm normally using Woodland Scenics soft flake snow, and I mix that with PVA glue and then put it onto the base of my model or whatever it is I'm working on. This is almost a clumpy foamy texture, so I'll be looking forward to see what I can do with this, how it will build up, whether you can paint over the top of it, but it's definitely a thicker texture. It doesn't look like it's sand either. I don't know what is inside there, but for a pure white snow, you can see here on the front of here it's been mixed with browns and yellowy sort of colours to make it more like a earthy snow. But if you want pure white, you could paint that on and you're good to go. We've also got these engine acrylics. Now this one's brown engine soot. We've got oil stains and we've got petrol spills. Let's have a look inside the brown engine soot first of all. Oh wow. Now the one thing I do want to try with this is see if I can put it onto a model. Look how gloopy that is. That's beautiful. In an engine soot type of way. Whether you can put it onto a model and then readjust it, so you get your wet paintbrush and you adjust the lines on it and make sure you can blend it without it leaving stains. I'd be interested to see if that works. Right, we've also got oil stains. There we go. Very much like the 8K Interactive engine oil, but again it's acrylic rather than enamel, so whichever you prefer to work with, enamel or acrylic, this is an option. This is the acrylic version. I do like the, it looks like engine oil straight out of the pot. And then we've got petrol spills. There we go. Nice dark black glossy petrol spill. And you could do that coming out the sides of buildings, out the side of vehicles, off the exhausts and pipes, anything like that. And then these last four from this section are the splash mud effects. Now we've got European splash mud. If you were going to be using the thick mud texture, obviously that's the same sort of brown as that. And you'd splash it up the side of tanks. You can see here you can put it, flick it, use an airbrush and just spray it up the side of vehicles to make it look like splashed mud. So there's different colours for that. We've got black splash mud. So if you were using the black version of this texture paint, you could always use the black version of this splashing mud as well. We've got light brown, and there's industrial mud for the grey. This one is a thick mud though, rather than a splash mud. So let's have a look inside here. There we go. Quite a gloopy texture inside there. Okay, so that's all of the almost basing materials, basing effects that we've got. So the fairy flesh set. I'm going to open this up. And the thing that made me want to, I mean, these have been sat on the desk for a while now. We've had so much content to get through, and I've been just buzzing to get started with these because it's these boxes. They're really nice. They've got some brilliantly painted models on the front of them. They're all designed perfectly. You can see which paints are in the set on here as well, and it shows you the colours in more detail on the back of what they actually are. So this set is for historical figures, so natural colours. You've got intense colours for fantasy figures, and you've got these very nice bright skin tones, and that's for fantasy figures, war games and pin-ups. And then it's saying it's got multiple colour combinations. So on the inside of this box, what you get is a detailed instruction manual on how to use these paints. So it's also got like the basic techniques and the concepts for painting. So it's showing you highlighting here. You've got your base coat, which is this blue curve here. Then you've got your first highlight, your second, your third and your fourth, and it's just showing you where you will apply that paint for each of those colours. And then for shading, it's showing you as well, you've got this blue bit which represents the model. This is the recess. So you start with your first decrease, your first shade, then you do your second and you paint a little bit less of that, and then you do your third and you paint a little bit less of that. And then it's just showing you how you're blending with acrylics. So you're blending it between. So your top highlight always the smallest part, and you go out, and then the widest part is your base coat at the bottom. Now it's going to go into step-by-step examples of how to use these. So for the fairy flesh set, it's got all of them there, all of the paints that are in this set. This one comes with Nocturna Shadow, Burned Flesh, Reddish Flesh, Base Flesh, Medium Flesh, Natural Flesh, Fairy Flesh, and then Highlight Skin. And then it shows you how to use them to get the effects on here. So to get this result down here, you start with a base colour, then you highlight with one of the colours, then you highlight with two of the colours mixed, then you do your shadows. So that's one shadow, and then your second shadow, and then you do a final highlight. Obviously the instructions aren't highly detailed. It doesn't explain to you how you do the blending. It doesn't show you the process, whether this has been airbrushed or used with a brush. It doesn't explain any of that, but it's very much like the old Games Workshop instructions, where it shows you a picture, tells you the colours, and then you have to work out the rest in between. I followed this using the colours that were said in here. My paint style is very different to this blending. I paint textures, so I'm just going to pop up a video now, and this is a model from Wordforge Games. It's I think it's called Fat Boy or Fat Man, and it's one of their Devil's Run characters. I'm not sure if it's for their Reaper's Revenge range, that's a tongue twister, or whether it's for their Route 666. But it was quite a joy to paint using these nice flesh tones, and it settled the itch for painting flesh for a little bit. We've also got this one, which is the intense colours. So it's again using the reddish flesh, going up to the medium flesh, and then we turn this over, and it's showing you what you go up to there. So that's already in this set. That's already two types of skin tone that we've got inside here. Obviously you can mix those up as well. It also gives you the guide for the Malefic set, which we're going to go through in a moment. And in the Malefic set you get enough colours to do 3 different types of skin tone. You've got a purple, you've got a blue, and you've got a green. So I'm not going to look at that now, that's in the Malefic set. I'm going to move that to one side. But using these, I mean, again, I love the dropper bottles. They're probably my favourite. I don't know why Games Workshop's still using these clip lids, because you end up, you always obviously have to shake them up, then you bring this up, and a lot of the time you'll get paint clogging in the back of here, or it might drip down. You've got to take the paint from there and put it onto a palette, and you either leave it open so you can keep going in and out, because otherwise it's just hassle to keep opening it and closing it, or you just take a bit and then it takes you much longer to do that. With these, you just remove the lid. So you take off the lid, you drop a bit onto your paint palette, and then you fasten it. It's just a lot easier. And also ratios. If you're mixing the way that it's, the way that you paint following these guides, or the way that I try to paint, which is knowing what ratios I'm using, it's much easier to get if I need 1 drop of this and 1 drop of that. That's easier than trying to scoop out the right amount. If I want to scoop a drop of paint out of here, you've got to make sure you're doing the same drop. You've got to make sure you're using the right sort of brush or the same sort of brush, so that you're getting the same quantity every time you take something out of here. These bottles are much easier to split up your ratios and work out how much paint you're actually mixing together. So I do prefer dropper bottles. That aside, the colours on these are just, they're so bright. You've got this, which is just a beautiful pinky flesh tone, and you've got the reds, you've got your nice greenish shadow colour, another brown, and then another brown. And I think these retail around £18. So to get 8 paints, £18, an absolute bargain. They were beautiful to paint with. Mixing it with just plain water, I wasn't even using medium, and they blended perfectly together. Well, you can thin them down to being quite translucent. So if you're trying to blend your colours, trying to blend your highlights together, these are brilliant for that. They're not over chunky. So that's the first set. Now I'm going to go on to the second one, which is one that I've used as well. Now this was the special effects set. So on the same Fat Man model from Wordforge Games, I used the copper, I think it was copper, rust, that was it. And I also used verdigris. Now we'll go through what there is inside here, because I only took those 2 paints out and I didn't look at the rest. So what have we got inside here? Chipping medium. I've used some form of chipping medium from AK Interactive, but I've not ever tried anything else. So what does it say? Apply chipping medium on paint or primer where chipping will be, and then when dry, apply a second final coat of the water-based acrylic paint. Once dry, re-moisten the water areas to be chipped and use a hard brush. So it works the same way as AK Interactive. You put your base colour on, then you put your chipping medium on, and then you do your main colour that you want over the top. And then you get like a cotton bud or something, and very gently scratch away from the surface, and you'll have your primer, the coat that you put down before this medium, showing through. So this one is a vomit. Again, it's almost like a Nurgle's Rot from Games Workshop. I haven't used this on a model, and I'm not sure whether it dries glossy. If it dries like that, it is pretty much Nurgle's Rot, because that's the same colour as well. The next one we've got is dried blood. It goes on slightly thicker than a wash, but it's not like using Tamiya Clear Red or Blood for the Blood God. It's definitely thinner than those two. So we have fresh blood. So this is a brighter version. So this is the one. This is much thicker. You can see straight away it's a brighter red. If you're going to be mixing it, you'd have your dry blood on the bottom, then you'd put some fresh blood on the top. You might only use one or the other. So there's 2 different types of blood inside there. The rust, this was amazing. In the past I've used Riser Rust from Games Workshop, and I've watered it down. So a dry paint from Games Workshop, dried down to the consistency of almost a layer or a wash. This stuff is perfect. It's the same colour. There we go. Look at that vibrancy. So that's a really nice bright orange, and thinning that down with water and just trickling it into any sort of areas that you want it to be rusty works perfectly. We've also got verdigris done in very much the same way. It's more of a wash than a layer, and you just thin it down and you trickle it into all the areas of copper and brass and anywhere where you would get verdigris build up. Best thing I would say is go on Google and type in verdigris and look at what sort of effects there are on real life objects, and then try and replicate it. Some things are absolutely covered in this stuff, and you pretty much have a metallic cover with this over the top of it. Other things you might have it just in the cracks or in recesses. So just have a look at real life versions of this and replicate it on your model. And then we've got rotten white. No, I haven't used rotten white. Let's have a look inside this booklet and see what there is. So again, we've got the basic techniques on shading. We've got examples on how to paint this up. So this is saying it's been primed with a black. Then you've used the skin, so there's different skin tones for this. So they've used dead flesh mixed with rotten flesh. And they've built up the paint of the zombie. So they've shown you how they painted that zombie there. And then what they've done is added the fresh blood, and then they've just added that to the tendons and all around here to make it all sore and red and horrible. And then they've used the dry blood, and that's around the eye socket, so you can see that's a much darker red there. Look, that's been mixed with it says it's been mixed 40% dried blood and 60% of rust, so that's an orange with a red mixed together. But I'd say mix some black in there as well, just to get those dark shadows in there. And then the eye has been painted afterwards, and they've had dry blood on the eyes themselves, so you've got your bloodshot eyes. So that's really, really cool. On the other side, I mean, the paint job in this is just incredible. So they've splattered fresh blood over the body of this zombie, and they've painted the crown, and then they've gone over it with that rust paint again, and that's been dry brushed, and it's just picked it all out. And then you've used this rotten white, and they've just gone over the edge of that just to pick it out, and the very edges of that have been picked out with that. Again, dry rust here, more dried blood. This is the verdigris I was saying, so around the top of this almost brass crown that he's wearing, they've just put the verdigris all around there. All in all, you're getting a wide variety of paints that you can use on multiple different parts of your models, so I definitely recommend picking up that set. It's called the Special Effects set. Let us know how you get on with those, and if you use your chipping medium in a different way, definitely let us know. Now we've got 3 more that I've not even looked at yet. So we've got Orcs and Goblins, and the first thing was this Hulk style orc thing on the front, and the range of colours as well. You've almost got, there's 3 greens there, the rest of it is made up with different colours. So I'm interested to see what the guide says in terms of using these. So step by step, so it's been applied with the black, then it's been painted with the sick green, which is that one. And that's such a bright green. So they highlight that with goblin green, which is this one. And they're almost the same colour. I imagine when you mix them up, the goblin green is going to be lighter. The final part is highlighting it with the livery green and a little bit of goblin green, so you mix those 2 together. So there are your 3 greens. So they painted the lips, insides of the ear, the elbows, the veins, and the palms of the hand, and all of that has been done with cadmium skin. So that's this skin tone, and that's to just give it a nice flesh tone, especially around the lips and things here. And then they've started to apply shadows, 50% scarlet blood and 50% royal purple, which are these 2, the red and the purple that we've got here. And then they're putting that on as a wash, and that's on the inside of the ears, the lips, and the palms of the hands. And I really like that. I should have used this sort of skin tone on the iron jaws that I've got, and especially I normally do a wash of Caribou Crimson to do that red sort of effect, and I normally do it on the eyelids of my orcs, but using it around the mouth, on the ears, and the palms of the orcs are definitely a good effect. And then what have they done? Then they've added some more heavy black green for some more shadows. So we'll put that to one side. That's the orc skin tone. Next we have the non-metallic metal set. Now this is something I have never tried. I've never even looked at doing non-metallic metals, just because it's one of the advanced techniques. It's something I want to do eventually, but I'm focusing on everything else at the moment. Let's make sure we've got everything before I say it's not in there. We've got a black, we've got a cold grey, dead white. We've got sepia, heavy brown, and a heavy gold brown. And we've got 2 different types of blue. We've got a turquoise and a night blue. I do like these guides, even as basic as they are, just showing you the picture and telling you the colours. Most of learning how to paint, or especially the harder part for me, is knowing which colour combinations work together. So knowing that these 4 is what you need, sorry, those 5 really is what you're going to need to do non-metallic silver, you've got a good head start on that. And then the final set we've got to go through is the Malefic flesh set. So this is for dark ambient skin tones, green, blue and violet tones for illustration effects and artistic results, and then it's again multiple colour combinations. So we'll look inside here, and like I said, it's the same instructions as you get in the fairy flesh set. So we'll turn that around, and we've got the Malefic flesh set here. So there's 8 colours in total. You can use them to paint up to this purplish tone. You can use to do the blues, and you've also got this green tone as well. So in one set, if you want value for money, you know, you buy 1 box of these paints for £20 or whatever they cost, and you can do 3 different skin tones with all of these. So I do like this deep forest skin, and again we can mix this with the Orc colours that we've got. So if you buy the whole set, you've got a massive range of paints that you can mix and match. You can mix some of these purples into the greens that you've got as well, and you've got all of these pale tones as well for your highlights. The one thing I will say with these is they really could do with an agitator, just to make sure that they're split up. If not, you're going to need to shake them quite heavily before you use them every time, because if you look at this one, you can see there's almost, it's just moving around in there. There's the pigment and the medium is separated, so you have to give them a good mix before you use them. If I just take this straight out now, let's show you white flesh. Look at that, look how watery that is. So they do need a heavy mix. Let's see what they like after I mix it up. Okay, so that's a quick mix. Now we can see what it actually comes out like. There we go, that's more like it. So that's white flesh. So on top of the reds, purples and green skin tones you can get out of that, that's almost a elf flesh skin tone. So you've got a lot more that you can get out of these tones. It's not just the ones that are in the box or in the instructions. You can play around with them and you can get all sorts of results. Right, so that's a quick overview of the products that have been sent to us to use for tutorials, to showcase as well. It's a first look. This is just the opening of the boxes really, and just an overview of what my thoughts are on some of them. There's obviously a lot here to use. Look forward to Phil's, he's got his first look unboxing on his Vallejo stuff that we've split up, because he does mainly the airbrushing tutorials and the scenery and things like that. So any products that get sent to us that are airbrush or scenery based, Phil will look into and start using in his videos. Anything painted with a brush, a normal brush, I will use. So we've split them up and we're going to go through and use these in tutorials in the future. So I just wanted to say a massive thank you to Vallejo for sending all of these products across. It was a huge surprise, massively appreciated, and we're looking forward to using these in future videos. Thank you to everyone who's watched this as well. If you like the video, give us a thumbs up. If you're subscribed, make sure you click the little notification bell icon next to the subscribe button, because that will allow you to know as soon as there's a new video going up, you'll get a notification to say that another video is available. At the moment we're getting messages on a daily basis saying, you know, when's the next video out, when's this coming out, and clicking that bell is the most ideal way of figuring that out. If there's a certain product range that you want us to go over before others, leave it in the comments below, and also let us know how you get on with these products if you've used them in the past. If for example you use the fresh blood in a certain way, post it in the comments below. It's interesting to find out how people use these products in their hobby. Thank you very much for watching this video. I hope it's helped, giving you an overview of what you can actually pick up from Vallejo, and at least giving you a little bit of information, and we'll see you on the next video.